In this episode, we'll travel to Asia and relive one of the great quests of modern history, the search for the 14th Dalai Lama, a revered spiritual leader from Tibet. As usual, we'll take time to relax and get cozy first. So settle into your bed and pull the covers up over your body. Let the gentle weight of the blankets soothe you like a warm hug. Close your eyes and draw in a deep breath. And then exhale. Keep breathing in and out at your own pace. With each breath, allow your body to relax just a bit more. As you inhale, any tension collects. As you exhale, it leaves your body with the breath. Slowly, moment by moment, your daily pains and worries disappear, and eventually, all that remains is you, here, right now, in a state of relaxation and tranquility. Listen to the stillness that surrounds you. Here in your bed, you are safe, quiet, and calm. It's in a place of stillness and tranquility just like this that our story begins. Rinpoche Rinpoche sat motionless next to Lamo Latso Lake. Grey wisps shifted every so often in the sky above the sacred place, nestled in a valley among the Himalayan mountains near China and Nepal. If the wind didn't wave his orange clothing, he would appear to be frozen in time. Many Tibetan Buddhist monks before and after Rinpoche Rinpoche would venture to this lake in search of wisdom and spiritual guidance. Surrounded by mountain peaks, the lake was ever changing. One moment, it might be gloomy beneath the shadow of clouds, and the next, it might be bright and rippling in the wind. As the environment shifted, meditating monks could see images, flashes of insight on the surface of the water. That's exactly why Rinpoche Rinpoche came here. After a lifetime of training and hours of stillness beside the lake, he saw something. In his mind's eye, a monastery appeared, marked by a golden jade green roof. He saw a house with gutters made of juniper, a rarity in this part of the world. Lastly, he saw 3 Tibetan letters, A, Ka, and Ma. He knew this was an important insight, perhaps the most important one he would ever have. So he began the trek back to his home monastery to tell his fellow monks. Little did he know that a child had recently been born in that very home depicted in his vision. After the death of the 13th Dalai Lama a few years prior, a search party assembled to find his replacement. According to Tibetan Buddhism, after the Dalai Lama's death, his spirit reincarnates as a newborn baby. Finding this child is no small task, since the Dalai Lama is the foremost religious leader of Tibetan Buddhism. Rinpoche Rinpoche's home monastery was also deep in the Himalayan mountains, not far from the sacred lake. From the monastery, he could see the snow-capped peaks all around. Clouds of fog swirled around the mountaintops, giving the place an ethereal quality. The monastery itself was made of white stone. It had several floors, with each floor slightly smaller than the one beneath it. A long staircase led up to the front doors. They were made of solid oak and gilded with gold accents. In the main hall of the monastery, the monks gathered around Rashring Rinpoche. They all looked similar in appearance, with shaved heads and orange and red robes. With the soft-spoken confidence of a well-practiced monk, Rashring Rinpoche described his vision and how he interpreted it. He believed that the letter R referred to Amda, a province in Tibet. He also suspected that the letter Ka stood for the monastery at Kumbum, which may have been the monastery from his vision. The last syllable, Ma, means authority or leader in Sanskrit, which was likely a reference to the Dalai Lama himself. The Panchen Lama, who was also part of the search team, was encouraged upon hearing this vision. As the second in command after the Dalai Lama, he had a key role in the search. He had been collecting information about children born in Tibet shortly after the Dalai Lama passed away. One of them had to be the reincarnated Dalai Lama. Now, the Panchen Lama could confine his search to Amdo, which narrowed the pool of candidates down to 3 boys. Early the next morning, the search party set out on the long road to Amdo. Some of the monks rode horses. The remainder walked purposefully along the countryside. The members of the party were quiet as they went, always engaged in silent meditation. The clopping of horse hooves on the dirt path was the only sound announcing their presence. The cold wind blowing across the Tibetan plateau pinched their cheeks. But the monks were prepared. They wore long robes made of cotton and wool and dyed in saffron. The robes were versatile, perfect for the Tibetan climate. In the winter, they were heavy enough to keep out the cold, and in the summer, they were loose enough to keep out the heat. After days of travel, they arrived in a small village where the first boy lived. His home was small and made of mud and rocks, much like other houses in Tibet. His parents welcomed the party inside, where the warmth of a fire offered relief from the cold. Immediately, members of the search party noticed that the boy had facial features similar to the previous Dalai Lama. He had a round face and kind eyes. However, when the Panchen Lama stepped forward to meet him, the little boy ran and hid behind his father's legs, afraid. His parents urged him to step forward and speak, but he refused. The Panchen Lama smiled at the boy and thanked his parents for welcoming him into their home. The shyness of a child is something worth appreciating, but the Dalai Lama was known to be courageous beyond the level of a grown man. This boy could not be him. The party left and made their way to the second boy's home. Once again, they set out by horse and foot across the Tibetan plateau. The second child's home was made of mud and rocks too, though slightly bigger than the last. Outside the house, a rainbow of prayer flags waved in the wind. Once more the party was eagerly welcomed, and once more they were hopeful. This boy was rather energetic, quite the opposite of the previous boy. The pension lama asked the boy's parents if he could take a test. The boy grinned, showing his baby teeth, which were slightly yellow from drinking butter tea. His parents agreed, so the pension lama brought out several items that had belonged to previous Dalai Lamas. Among the items were a few sets of prayer beads called mala. The mala were made of tiger's eye, a semi-precious stone. They reflected iridescent greys and browns in the firelight. The pension lama also pulled out a prayer wheel and a bell. He carefully set these artifacts in front of the boy. But before the pension lama could ask the boy a single question, the boy snatched the prayer beads and began to swing them around. His parents, embarrassed by their rambunctious child, took the beads from him and apologized profusely. The pension lama was understanding. The energy and curiosity of a child is something worth appreciating, he said, with a warm smile. But still, something about the boy's outburst led him to believe that he was not the Dalai Lama. He was compassionate and particularly careful. He thanked the boy's parents for their hospitality. Now, only one boy remained, if they had interpreted Rashreng Rinpoche's vision correctly. The party had grown tired from traveling all across Tibet, but they carried on, knowing that this was the search of a lifetime. They followed the path to the monastery at Kombom. With its turquoise roof, it matched the monastery from Rashreng Rinpoche's vision. They passed snow-covered mountaintops and wide grasslands where Tibetan yaks grazed peacefully. The monks held out hope that Rashreng Rinpoche was right, and that this final boy was the one they searched for. His name was Lamo Dondup, and he'd been born shortly after the 13th Dalai Lama died. Observant as always, the monks learned much about the boy as they neared his home. Like many in Tibet, his parents were humble farmers, keeping various animals like sheep, yaks, goats and chickens. They even had a few jomos, which are a cross between a yak and a cow. They grew potatoes, buckwheat and barley, the latter being a very important crop. Once harvested, barley was ground into flour and mixed with butter, tea and cheese to make a dish called sampa. It was often eaten at every meal. The party approached the boy's house. It was made of cement and stone that had been panelled over with dark, shiny wood. Rashreng Rinpoche focused only on the gutters lining the home's roof. They were made of juniper wood. This was the home in his vision at the lake. The search party had found the right place. He was certain of it. But he remained quiet. If the boy was indeed the Dalai Lama, the signs would be clear on their own. He knocked on the front door. The boy's mother opened the door and welcomed the monks inside. The search party didn't tell the family that they were searching for the Dalai Lama. Instead, they simply asked if they could stay the night. The monks carefully watched the child, who was wearing a robe a few sizes too big for him, probably a hand-me-down from his older brother. He had thick black hair and a serious gaze. He appeared neither happy nor sad, but fully present. One of the monks pretended to be a servant and spent the evening playing with the little boy. He was amazed when Lama called him Sera Lama, because Sera was his home monastery. The child would have no way of knowing that. The monks left the next morning, but returned soon after in a formal procession. This time, they announced their true intentions. They believed that the child was the reincarnated Dalai Lama and wanted to test him. Lama's parents agreed, although they were surprised. Lama's older brother had been recognized as the reincarnation of a different Lama at the age of 8, and it was rare to have more than one Lama in a family. The party had brought with them some items that once belonged to the previous Dalai Lamas and some items that belonged to other people. As with the previous boy, these items were a few sets of prayer beads, a few bells, and a few prayer wheels. The different sets of prayer beads were laid out before Lama. Each set of beads looked the same, except for slight variations in coloring. Without a moment's hesitation, little Lama reached forward and picked up a set of prayer beads. As he played with them, the monks looked at one another. The beads he picked had belonged to a previous Dalai Lama. Next, Lama was presented with a few different prayer wheels. Once more, the prayer wheels were quite similar, except one had a long wooden handle. The boy picked up this prayer wheel. He shook it, but gently, as if he understood the importance of such an item. Indeed, this was the correct prayer wheel. Only one more test remained. Small metal bells sat on the table in front of him. Lama looked at them, seemingly deep in concentration. His forehead scrunched as he focused. After much deliberation, he reached forward and picked one of the bells that had a little dent on the side. Lama had to be the Dalai Lama. There was no doubt about it. The party had searched for nearly 3 years, and now they had finally found him. Still, they couldn't announce the good news until they had conferred with the other Lamas. The monks carefully packed up the various objects and thanked the family for their hospitality. Days went by without a word from the search party. Lama had almost forgotten about the kind band of monks that spent the night when, after several weeks, his mother heard a rumor that he would be named the 14th Dalai Lama, the foremost spiritual leader in the country. Lama and his parents traveled to Kumbum Monastery for his official coronation. They journeyed on horseback through the night. As he wrapped his arms around his father's waist, Lama couldn't see anything but the night sky. He couldn't feel anything but the cool wind against his face and the rhythm of the horse's steps as it trotted through the Tibetan grass. When the family arrived at the monastery, it was still dark outside. They were ushered inside into a hall lit with candles. The room was cavernous. Red mats and plush pillows lined the floor. At the front of the room sat a red and gold gilded throne. The long wall behind the throne was painted with a mural of many bright orbs in blue, orange and green. In the center of the mural was a gold figure of the Buddha, his form surrounded by an intricate frame. Lamo changed into different clothes, ornate robes that flowed down to his knees and pointed cloth shoes. On his head sat a triangular hat with two flaps on the front near his forehead. The coronation ceremony was secretive, and the boy received a new spiritual name, Tenzin Gyatso. He was so young that he can no longer remember all the details of this ceremony. However, the 14th Dalai Lama did remember a few things. He recalled sitting on a throne, one that was red and gold. He remembered that the ceremony took place at sunrise. And he recalled seeing the bright orb of the sun as it floated above the mountains of his beloved homeland, Tibet.
For tonight's story, I'll be taking you on a tranquil trip to an Austrian hillside. Together, we'll wander about and relax, and eventually sleep. But before we begin, let's take a moment to unwind and prepare for a peaceful rest. First, find a comfortable position and begin to focus on the breath. Slowly breathe in and exhale as you relax. Try your best to breathe slowly. Let's practice a small moment of gratitude for your body. Your legs carried you throughout the day. Your neck held your head high. Your hands helped you accomplish your goals. Take this moment to smile inward and say, "Thank you. Thank you, body, for taking care of me throughout the day." And now, listen to the sound of my voice as I take you on a trip through the mountain villages of Austria. Step forward, slowly, in this land of luscious green hills, arching blue skies, and still turquoise lakes. Feel the warm mountain air on your skin. We are in the Tyrol region of Austria, and the air is clean and fresh. Breathe it deeply into your lungs. You are here in this rolling landscape with the sun warming your arms and lightly touching your face. You adjust the light cloth backpack on your shoulders and you feel the comfort of it sitting there, warm against your back. You take a few gentle steps on the chalky pathway and you raise your eyes up to where the peak of the hill reaches the sky. Each day paragliders sail from this peak, their brightly colored fabric wings lifting on the soft breeze. They float and wander on airstreams. Some seem to glide down with ease, like an autumn leaf, while others appear to soar on thermals and are carried far and wide like dandelion seeds in the breeze. The paraglider's wings are rust red, Seville orange, citrus yellow, and lime green. They fill the sky like lanterns, silent as they sail. The ground beneath your feet crunches, and small gravel stones massage the soles of your feet through your solid hiking boots. You feel the tingle as the little stones roll under your toes. Your arms are loose by your sides, and you feel them sway slightly as you walk. The path winds around the deep green hill, curving with the rise of the land. You turn the corner, and you feel your breathing deepen. The air will become even quieter and stiller as you rise up the hill. Your body will fill with the scent of arnica, bellflower, and edelweiss. You will be aware of these flowers first through your sense of smell, their sweetness and freshness filling your body. But then they will appear to you as you turn the shape of the pathway, and you see their colors and shapes like soft landmarks of nature. Edelweiss spreads out in a constellation of white stars. They nod and twinkle in the shine of the sun as you pass by. Bellflowers line up as if waiting to be turned by hand like church bells, their peal of song ringing out over the mountains. Lavender-colored and delicate, their soft hoods open at the edges and smile up to the sun. Arnica dances in the breeze, petals that appear to have taken the sun and laid it in their own flowery skin. They sit together in clusters of joy as you stroll slowly by. Your legs are starting to get a little tired. The sun is a blanket across your back and shoulders. It is quiet, and there is no one else in sight. As you near the peak of the hill, you can hear the soft flap of the air in the fabric wings of the paragliders. It ruffles softly, like a flag in the breeze. You can see the rainbow of fabric wings as they wait for their turn to sail. They bask in the heat of the sun, starting down into the valley below. You watch as a young man prepares to glide. His gentle sway of fabric pans out above him and billows in the breeze. The wing is quilted like a duvet, and it spreads itself wide like a sail rippling across a lake. The paraglider is comfortably seated, and the wind lifts him into the blue air gently, as if on a cloud. It is beautiful and peaceful. The man is in the air now, taken on the wind, looking down over the beautiful valley below. The thick and soft green grass is all around you as you step forward to the edge of the hill. Looking out, you can see the small village below. The tall pin of the church steeple looks like a young tree from where you stand, bare as yet, but pushing upwards with hope and faith in its future growth. You can see the chalet houses like small gingerbread homes tracing the streets below. You stand for a moment, watching life down in the valley. The air up here on the hill is soft and constant. Small bushes rustle, mingle, as the air massages their leaves. The route down the hill is over bumpy clods of grass that act like footholds. It is a gentle slope that offers no resistance. Your legs bend with ease and spring effortlessly as you make your way down the hill. Down the hill there is no path, and so you wander from left to right as you weave your way around small shrubs and boulders. Austrian pines sway in the breeze, and the scent reminds you of Christmas. You picture sparkling lights, warmed fruitcake, and hot toddies by the fire. Your legs and arms are heavy as you approach a crest in the hill. Your view of the valley is closer now, opening up in front of you. This is a vista of your dreams. You unhook the small cloth backpack from your shoulders and place the bag on the soft grass by your feet. You reach inside the bag and grab the waxy parcel you packed that morning. As you unfold the leaves of the wax paper, the scent of the dairy cheese and fresh bread fills your nose. You slowly eat the bread and cheese and feel it melt in your mouth. The creamy goat cheese and the pillow-soft bread are a perfect companion. Looking out, the green hills of the Tyrol are a patchwork of meadows and rolling fields sprinkled with delicate wildflowers. You feel yourself becoming tired, and you might close your eyes while the sun warms your face. You might lay back with your backpack as a headrest, and you might feel the soft grass, a quilt under your arms and legs. After packing up, you continue your way back down the mountain. For a moment, you stop and take a look back up the hill. Suddenly, you begin to see paragliders soar overhead. Their orange and blue fabric wings arching and billowing. They swoop overhead, momentarily casting a shadow along the ground. As they travel further on the airstream, they float away. into the distance. They seem almost as small as birds now. I wonder where they will land, you wonder. In front of you, the church spire is high and stretches up into the sky. There is a small bar and restaurant here, serving iced tea to patrons on the patio. The scent of the tea and lemon sweetness fills the air, and you walk towards the little wooden veranda at the entrance. The woman behind the counter seems to read your mind and begins to pour you a tall glass of tea. You unhook the backpack from your shoulders and place it gently on the ground by your feet. You take a seat on the wooden patio and stretch out your legs, letting them really rest for the first time in hours. You cross one foot over the other, your legs heavy and your body calm. It is quiet. A local woman is hanging clothes on her laundry line outside her chalet. You watch as she bends and hangs each piece of fabric, and the clothes lift with the breeze and flap in the air. A man passes slowly by, pushing a sleeping baby in a pram. The wheels trundle forward, and the pram rocks. You can imagine how nice it must feel to be that sleeping infant. A deep peace enters your body and brings your breathing to a slow pace. The woman at the bar is bringing out freshly made funnel cake, and she offers some for you to take on your way. You gladly accept the warm bundle of cake as you get to your feet again, ready to walk on. The decking of the patio gives slightly as you walk on it, spongy like a child's bouncy castle. You bend and pick up your backpack. You release the buckle and open up the bag, and you place the wrapped funnel cake inside, still warm in your hands. Now, lunchtime is done, and the afternoon stretches forward. The last of the paragliders drift in the air from the hilltop, the wings a still and soft rainbow above the town. They fritter away on the breeze like untethered balloons. You walk now, away from the bar and away from the hill, down the quiet path towards your hotel. The Alpine Hotel is tucked away from the street, and a view of meadows and lush grass stretches out beyond it. The view from outside the hotel presents a beautiful picture of the pastoral Austrian landscape. Tall grass waves in the breeze. It's like looking at an old Hubert Sattler painting. Gentian sways purple and blue in the grass, and heather rustles and shakes in the breeze. Beyond, on the other side of the meadow, a lake swells, and lights from lakeside homes reflect on the water at nighttime. The peace and solitude here is as thick as feather down. A bird calls into the wide air, seeming to recognize and signal your arrival. You enter the Alpine Hotel. The father of the family who owns this small guest house stands behind the reception desk. He smiles warmly and says, "Good afternoon." The inside of the hotel is clad in dark, polished wood, and it has the appearance of Tray chocolate. A painting of snow-capped mountains stretches out on the wall beside you, and a fire crackles in the fireplace at the far side of the room. Here, easy chairs wait with their arms open, waiting for someone to take their rest. You unhook the backpack from your shoulders and you sit down in the deep, soft chair. It is made of soft brown leather, and its curved back is spotted with buttons. You let the backpack fall to the ground, and you watch the fire for a moment. The flames sway, and the heat lulls you. You feel your eyelids start to feel heavy. The only sounds are the crackle of the fire, the gentle movement of the breeze in the Austrian pines out in the hills, and the rhythmic tweet of the small birds. Outside, the paragliders will have eased away for the afternoon. They will have folded their orange, green, and white fabric wings, and they will have walked back down the hillside just as you did. They might be driving back to Vienna, Haas, or Salzburg, happy and pleased after a day of flying. For you, the walk up and then down the Austrian hill has brought a beautiful contentment. The mountain air and the views have seeped deep into your body and have made your bones heavy and your muscles relax. The landscape of the Tyrol rises and dips and nods and delves like you're breathing now. As you lay on this soft sofa by the simmering fire, you can let the beauty of the Tyrol region enter your dreams. You will still feel the soft brush of the thick grass on the hillside, and you will smell the scent of edelweiss and gentian. You will breathe in the smell of the warm funnel cake and cool afternoon tea, and you will dream of Austria.
So take a moment to close your eyes, and with your eyes closed you can listen to me. And as you listen to me with your eyes closed, so you can begin to drift inside your mind. You can begin your journey into a deep and comfortable trance experience, and you'll go into deep trance in your own way and in your own time as I talk to you in the background. And while you go deeper and more comfortably into a trance, so my voice can go with you, and you don't have to consciously always be aware of my voice. My voice can take on different sights, different sounds, the sound of the wind, the sound of others, as it goes with you on your journey. And so as you listen to me and drift inside your mind, you can just begin to allow yourself to breathe comfortably. Breathe comfortably and deeply. Breathing comfortably and deeply from down within your belly. Breathing in relaxation. And breathing out any tension. Breathing in relaxation. And breathing out any tension. And while you just allow that breathing to become automatic, you can imagine a light around you, and perhaps that light starts off as a glow within the room around you. And you can pay attention to that glowing light. Pay attention to the colour of that light. And the light just seems to be there. It's not coming from anywhere specific. It's just a light in the air around you. And as you breathe in relaxation and breathe out tension, so you can begin to breathe in some of that light and breathe out some darkness. And breathe in some of that light and breathe out some darkness, so that gradually the room around you can get darker and darker. Gradually the room around you can begin to fade away as the light gets drawn inside you and passes down through you, passes down through your head, down your neck, down into your lungs, gets absorbed into your blood and pumped around your body through your heart, passing down to your arms, to the tips of your fingers, down through your body, all the way down into your legs and down to your feet. As the room begins to fade away, as the room begins to get darker and darker, so you can be drawn towards the light, drawn inwardly towards the light. And as you focus on the light, so you can follow that light deeper and deeper within yourself. You can follow that light deeper and deeper within yourself. And as you follow that light, you can begin to notice shapes and sounds and flashes of this and that. And after a while they can begin to form into somewhere out of nowhere. and you can find yourself walking through a field high up on top of a hill overlooking some woodland, a field that has recently been harvested. Noticing the crunching sound of wheat stumps beneath your feet, the solid thud sound of the mud with each step you take, a breeze on your face from the wind blowing across the fields. Some shadows lightly racing across the fields as clouds pass overhead, with periods of bright and warm sun warming your cheeks, warming your face, your body. That's it. And just slowly, calmly walking around in this field as you find a path through the field of solid mud. And once you start walking on that path, so you stop being aware and stop making the cracking, crunching sound of the harvested wheat. Instead, you just have the thud sound of each footstep as you follow this path through the fields. Hearing birds in the background, rustling leaves in the trees as you walk towards a gate that leads into the woods. And as you reach the gate, so you reach out with your hand, and placing your hand on the gate, you use your other hand to open the metal latch. You can hear the sound of that metal latch opening. And then the sound and the feeling of swinging that gate shut and making sure it's shut and locked behind you correctly. And straight away you notice how here there are trees, and the trees are quite dense, and this bit of path from here on into the woods is cooler and shaded by the trees. That's it. And so as you have that gate closed behind you, you continue walking along the path, going deeper and deeper into the woods. And as you walk deeper and deeper into the woods, so you can hear the dull thud of each footstep, the rustling leaves around you in the trees, the sounds of birds chirping, singing, flying from branch to branch, sounds of small animals in the woods, sleeping around like rabbits and other small animals. And a certain coolness to the air where you're in the shade as you continue your journey. And while you continue your journey, you go deeper and deeper into the woods. And you stop from time to time to take a few photographs of different plants, different things that you see. That's it. Continuing to walk through the woods. And then after a while you can deviate off the path and start cutting through the woods themselves. And you push through the trees and the branches. And twigs crack underfoot. And you go deeper and deeper into the woods. And you're searching for something specific. Something you don't think anyone else knows about. And so you look around with intent, you look around with curiosity. That's it. And then after quite a bit of walking and relaxing through the woods, you see what it is you were looking for. You see what looks like a manhole cover, and you head over to that manhole cover, and with a tremendous amount of effort you lift the cover and you move it aside, and some dust and mud and twigs fall in where the removed manhole cover is, fall into the tunnel, and you can hear that dust and mud fall into the tunnel. Before you then climb in yourself and you get your torch out and you climb in, and you don't want anyone else knowing what this place is, so you put the manhole cover back over the top of you. As you slide it and move it back with its metallic sound and its heavy sound, as you slide it and move it back in place above your head. Then with your torch you light up the tunnel, and the tunnel requires that you bend over slightly and lower your head slightly. And it's cool in the tunnel. And after a short walk, where your torch light just lights up a small area in front of you, So you arrive at a wooden door, and you carefully push open that wooden door and find yourself in a vast, cavernous room. And there are torches all around the wall, so you light the torches and it lights up the room with light glistening off the walls. That's it. With walls covered in gold. To reflect that light around the room. And you see a door that says room of nothingness. And so you take a few moments to walk to that door. You place your hand on the door handle and you carefully open the door. And walk into this room of nothingness. And the room is dark with a very slight glow. And you close the door behind you. And there's just one chair in this room. And so you walk over to that chair. You sit yourself down comfortably. And then you let your eyes close. And with your eyes closed, rapid eye movement begins. Your breathing slows down. The muscles relax to the point where it's almost like you're unaware of your body, you're just a mind. Or your body's just there, but you're not currently aware of it. That's it. And then, with your eyes closed, in this room of nothingness, everything outside of your closed eyes begins to disappear into nothing, as you get absorbed in what's inside, and your mind begins to wander. It begins to drift and dream, and you begin to wonder where your mind will wander. That's it. And you find yourself on an alien world, exploring an alien world, being intrigued by the habitat, by the life, by the plants. Explore this alien world, and you see a friendly alien sat down near a pool of water, enjoying the weather. And so you go over and you take a moment to sit next to that alien. So as you listen to this, take a moment to close your eyes, and you can begin to relax as you listen to my voice in the background. And I don't know whether you'll relax deeper and fall asleep to my voice, or whether you'll just naturally fall asleep as the story goes on, as you listen to me. And you can have a sense of walking along a beach, and as you walk along a beach, you know that you're going to be going sailing. So you're walking along the beach and you're noticing the sand against your feet, noticing what it feels like to be walking on that sand. And you're taking in the atmosphere. You're aware of the different sounds around you, of animals, of people, perhaps in the distance, maybe closer. The different things you can see, like what the ground looks like, what the sand looks like. Whereabouts this beach is. And as you walk along, you start gazing out to sea, and you just notice how calm the sea is. There's a slight breeze out there, but it's calm. And you notice what each wave is like as it rolls slowly and gently onto the shore, with a certain regularity of the waves rolling slowly and gently onto the shore. And you're just judging and working out what the weather's like for your trip out on a boat. As you continue walking along the seafront, walking along towards a jetty that sticks out into the sea. And you can hear the sounds of the waves sloshing onto the shore, and then dragging some of that sand and perhaps some stones back out to sea before the next wave sloshes onto the shore. And as you approach that jetty, you can start to hear the sounds of the waves as they strike the underside of the jetty. And you can start to hear the sounds of the waves between the boats, and the sounds of boats shaking and moving as they bob around on the water. And you can walk down the jetty, notice what it's made of, notice how long it is. You can look around, notice what boats are off of the jetty, what boats are out to sea already, what the sky is like, whether there's any clouds in the sky or whether it's just a clear sky, what time of day you reckon it is. And you can notice how as you walk onto the jetty, your footsteps change in sound, from what they sounded like on the sand to what they sound like as you walk along the jetty. And as you walk along the jetty, you can walk down towards your sailing boat, right down at the end. And at the moment the sail is down, so it's just a white boat, which essentially looks like it's got a stick sticking up in the middle of it. And so you climb onto your boat, You unfurl the sail, you crank up the sail. You untie yourself from the shore and tack back out of that space and start heading out into the open ocean. And you can hear the water as the boat passes through the water. Hear the way the water breaks around you. You can feel the movement of the boat as it goes up and down over waves, as it rocks gently side to side. Almost like it's rocking you gently to sleep. It's just such a relaxing feeling to be able to be out on such a quiet machine. And you get further and further away from the shore, and you can watch as that shore moves further into the distance. And as the waves calm down, the further out you go. And then you can tie the sail up so that you can enjoy some relaxation sitting in a chair at the back of the boat, with the boat gently rocking side to side, just as each wave gently passes by, very softly, very gently, hearing some seagulls in the distance, feeling the breeze on your skin and the warmth of the sun. And you can sit and perhaps have a cup of tea or some other drink just while you are relaxing and enjoying being out here. And as you look around, you notice some white water breaking in the distance. And it grabs your attention, and so you gaze over there to see what's going on. And you get some binoculars out and you look through the binoculars. And as you look through the binoculars, so you become deeper absorbed in what you're seeing, and you see a school of dolphins jumping in the water, swimming along, all together in a straight line. And they're so far away you can't hear them, but you can see them clearly through your binoculars. And they're starting to head this direction. And so you just watch them, just enjoy watching those dolphins as they bound through the water. As you relax deeper and more comfortably. You can notice how playful the dolphins appear to be, how much they just seem to want to play with each other, and they start coming over nearer to the boat, and they're just playing in the water near the boat, as the boat is just gently bobbing up and down, bobbing around on its spot, while you just enjoy a drink and gazing at the dolphins, enjoying peace and calm away from the shore. Hearing that watery sound against the side of your boat, the sounds of dolphins in the water playing and relaxing. And then you can decide to get changed into something to wear in the water. and you know your boat is well anchored. And you can always climb on and off of your boat with the ladder at the back. And so you climb down into the water, and the water's so warm and tropical, so clear. And you start swimming in the water. And you're secretly hoping that the dolphins will swim with you, but you don't want to push it. You don't want to swim with them without them making that decision first. And so as you're swimming in the water, just relaxing, and you're floating on your back, gazing up into the sky, just floating on your back, gazing up into the sky, letting your arms rest outwards and float on the surface of the water, having your legs just hanging down and your belly just breaking the water a little bit and your chest breaking the water, just as you lie on your back, hearing the water sloshing around near your ears, just floating, relaxing, bobbing gently up and down, up and down. Then you notice one of the dolphins gently nudges you as it comes over to play. And it swims past you, and you realise that it's encouraging you just to hold on to its fin. So you hold on to its fin on its back, and it swims around, it pulls you around, and it dives down underwater for a bit, and then it swims and breaks the surface of the water, and it spins around sharply. And then you roll onto your back underwater, and it rolls over onto its back, and you blow bubbles and it blows bubbles, and you can feel a deep connection with that dolphin. You can feel a deep connection with that dolphin. And then it shows off and it blows a ring of water, a ring of bubble that passes straight over you and straight around you, and you try to do the same, except yours just comes out as just bubbles that rise to the surface, and you can hear it whistling at you and clicking at you, and you can feel it with its clicks and whistles penetrating your body, and you know that it can scan you and it can sense not just what you look like on the outside, but who you are on the inside. And then you just relax in the water. And it's as if the dolphin knows that you just want to be able to relax and you want this moment of peace to last. And so it just lounges and relaxes next to you, just swimming very gently around you. And as it does so, you notice the sun beginning to set, the shadows getting longer. Everything's just taking on a whole new sense of peace and calm. And so you get back onto your boat, and you decide to take your boat into the shore, back to the jetty. You decide to moor your boat up at the jetty. You have something to eat as you reflect on the day, and you smile about your experiences, the memories you've got of pleasure and fun. And after you've eaten, you decide to go to bed, and you lie in your bed and you start reading a book. And as you're reading a book, so you just notice the boat gently rocking side to side as each wave passes by. You can just hear that lapping water against the boat. And something about it makes it really hard to be able to stay reading because it's just so deeply, profoundly relaxing. And so as you listen to that, your eyes begin to close, and so you start to put the book down, and you let yourself begin to drift comfortably asleep for the night. As you listen to me, you can begin to relax, and as you begin to relax, so you can start the process of falling asleep comfortably. And while you begin to drift off asleep comfortably, I'll continue talking to you in the background. And as I talk to you in the background, you don't have to pay any attention. You can just let yourself drift off asleep. And with your eyes closed, listening to me, beginning to relax deeply. You can imagine what it's like to be born a tree, and you start life 1,000 years ago. And you start off just as like a tiny twig sticking out the ground, with a couple of leaves on top of your head. And it's interesting, life on these timescales, what it is that you've seen, what you've witnessed and experienced, changing events over time. And as you begin to grow, you sway in the wind, you experience the seasons, you experience spring heading into summer, with the explosion of colour and growth and warmth and light. As this moves into autumn, and the colours turn rusty, and the temperature cools, and perhaps there's a little bit more wind, and the days are shorter, and the sun never rises quite so high above the horizon. And the growth of other plants and grass slows down as the seasons move on to winter. And you feel packed comfortably in ice and snow, with just a white glow around you. reassuring sound of people and animals walking in the snow. Trees being bare of their leaves, waiting for the spring. And then as the snow melts and spring arrives, and you notice those frosty mornings in early spring, where cobwebs take on a beautiful shimmering look across fields of grass, as the light glistens on water droplets. And the weather warms up quickly, creating a mist above the fields. And a beautiful sunrise in the distance. And you experience these seasons year after year, just like clockwork, where spring leads to summer, leads to autumn, leads to winter, leads back to spring. You see the increase in animals, then the decrease in animals, the increase in other plant life, and the decrease in other plant life. The sun rising higher in the sky, and then rising lower in the sky. Days getting longer, and then days getting shorter. While you continue to grow taller, and you start off growing flexibly in the wind, and gradually, as you grow taller, so you begin to become more sturdy. And while you become more sturdy, you become better able at weathering harsh weather. And it's nice to remain flexible as well. And you see that young couple sitting beneath your leaves when you're just a young tree. They carve their name into the bark and a love heart. They gaze out over the meadows, over to a small town with a church in the distance. And you can be aware of that church bell ringing, and that couple enjoying sitting in the shade of your leaves as they rustle and move in a breeze. And throughout the year, that couple comes back to sit beneath your leaves. And And they climb up into your branches and they sit on the branches and they chat and just enjoy each other's company. And year after year they return, and you notice them getting older gradually. Year after year they return, and after a few years different couples start coming along, sitting in the shade of your leaves, starting their relationships, enjoying their time with you here, gazing out over that old English town over there, listening to the church bells in the distance. As you continue to grow taller and wider and get a more full head of leaves, and you weather harsh storms that roll in from time to time. And incredibly warm weather and heavy rains and very dry weather. And you experience all sorts of weather. And yet you just stand strong, stand firm, just watching as time goes by. And as years turn into decades and decades begin to turn into centuries, you notice how people change. You notice how their clothing changes. The houses they're living in change. The number of people changes. You notice so much history. And as the centuries move on, so you relax deeper and deeper into where you are, stretching out those roots deeper and deeper, wider and wider, growing those leaves more fully. Being aware of different buildings going up, of changes from medieval times to industrial times to Victorian dress. Noticing when the people went through a Renaissance time, and artists would come and sit in the shade of your leaves and would paint the most beautiful pictures of the scene before them. you'd find your mind wandering, drifting and wandering, because you're only able to be stuck in this one place. So although you get to see time passing by, you get to see painters, and then more recently photographers, you get to see how towns and cities change. You get to see how the weather changes month after month. You get to have lovers sitting under your leaves. You get to have people stealing a kiss. You get to share in secrets and wonder and intrigue. But you always wonder what it would be like to move, what it would be like to be somewhere else, to be able to move and have a different perspective. To be able to fulfill your curiosity, and you find your mind wandering and imagining what it would be like to drift and float through space and time, drifting and floating through space and time, comfortably into another location, seeing from another location, and you wonder what that'll be like. That's it. And you enjoy some time imagining what it'll be like to be in a different location, what insights you'll gain, what you'll learn there. Wonder what it would be like to have the ability to move from your spot. What it would be like to be one of these people who you've seen. And you enjoy being a tree, growing taller and wiser with each passing year. And then, when the time is right, you find yourself as a tree, almost drifting into a hibernation. As one winter approaches, just conserving energy and drifting comfortably inside, like you've done hundreds of times before over the years, drifting inside, creating an inner world, a dream, a drifting in a dream. Where you can drift inside and enjoy dreaming and drifting and sleeping for a while. knowing you'll awaken again in the spring. So as you listen to this, you can close your eyes, make sure you're comfortable, and you can relax to this at your own rate and speed as you fall asleep comfortably. And my voice can just be in the background while you drift off to sleep. And so a princess living in a castle decided she wanted to go out on a horse ride around her land. She got changed into clothes suitable for going out horse riding. She walked through the palace, footsteps echoing down the corridors, passing windows with light glimmering and shining through, like slithers or shards of light. She left the palace and went round to the stables, and it was a warm, sunny day. She could feel the warmth of the sun on her face. She could notice just the slightest of breezes in the distance around the trees. And she walked around to the stables. And she could begin to smell the smell of the stables, hear the sound of the horses. As she got closer, she had someone in advance, putting a saddle on her horse and the bridle, and setting her horse up ready for her to take out. And they helped her up onto the horse. She pulled the horse's head up, squeezed gently with her feet, and the horse started walking along. And she could feel the weight of the horse's head through the reins, hear the clipping clopping of the feet. As she rode from the stable down the path to leave her palace grounds and head off into the nearby woods. And she could feel the horse underneath her as it gently trotted along, and feel the warmth from its body. And she could smell the unique smell of her horse, and found just sitting on the horse so relaxing. And every now and then her horse would want to put its head down to eat some grass, and she would just keep its head out of the ground occasionally just have to nudge him on a bit. And as the horse continued trotting out of the grounds onto a bridleway and off towards the woodland, the princess could begin to hear the sounds of birds in the background as she neared the woodland. And then as she arrived at the woodland and trotted into the woods following the bridleway, the atmosphere changed. The slight breeze died down as it was blocked by the trees. Although the rustling of the leaves could still be heard as the breeze blew across the tops of the trees. And the princess continued trotting through the woods, listening to the bird sounds, noticing the greens of the trees, the browns of the bark, and the smells of the woodland. And she enjoyed taking in the sights and sounds of a ride out into the woods. And after some time travelling through the woods, she came to a clearing, to a beautiful meadow. Where all the grass was moving in the breeze, like waves on an ocean. And she trotted through the meadow. Before finding a flat bit where she nudged her horse and burst into a canter and then a gallop. She raised herself up slightly and leant forwards and positioned herself, streamlining herself, using her legs like shock absorbers, allowing the horse to gallop along while she remained steady, pulling her elbows in, keeping her heels down. Feeling the wind rapidly passing across her face and through her hair. And as she approached the far side of the meadow, she pulled back on the reins a little. As the horse slowed from a gallop to a canter, and then down to a trot, and then a gentle walk. And she could hear and feel the horse breathing heavier now. And And so she just continued at a gentle walk, allowing time for the horse to relax, while she enjoyed just relaxing on the back of the horse. She was heading to one of her favourite spots. And she could see and hear a stream in the distance. And she headed towards that stream. And as she got closer, so the sound of the running water increased. And she dismounted from her horse, held onto the reins. Pat the side of the horse's neck. And together they walked along the edge of the stream. And the horse put his head down and had a bit of a drink. And they carried on, following the stream to a lake. And at the lake, the princess laid down a mat, laid down something that she could sit on. And she sat down and got out a good book. And listening to the lapping water on the shore of the lake, she sat there and read a little piece of her book, enjoying the sensations of just drifting in her mind and relaxing. And then the sun was beginning to set, and she wasn't ready to go back to the palace yet. So she went and got some wood. She made a little fire, lit the fire, and could hear the crackling of the fire, see the dancing of the light. Her horse chowed down on some grass. While she got some food out of her bag, took some time to cook some of that food over the fire and eat her food. And now the sun was almost completely over the horizon. The moon was visible in the sky. Stars were becoming visible. And she sat back, rested her head on her bag, just gazing up at the sky, looking at twinkling stars, listening to the relaxing sound of the lake in the background, and the breathing sound of her horse, and the rustling leaves as the wind blows a breeze. And she found herself just feeling tired and drifting off to sleep. And she decided she wanted to spend the evening here, So she got a blanket and just rested that over herself. And just continued to watch the stars as they move across the sky. Notice the occasional shooting star. And she imagined how peaceful life is, and whether there could be anything more peaceful and blissful than riding out into a meadow by a lake and relaxing under the stars. And when she was ready, she just naturally started drifting off asleep. And she comfortably drifted asleep as the fire had burnt down to just glowing embers. With that sound of the lake in the background. Knowing that in the morning she would make her journey back to the palace and have to get back on with her work. But for now she knew it's the time to relax and sleep. This is a adult bedtime story where you're playing the role of an astronaut. And as you listen to this, so you'll begin to fall asleep. You'll be listening with your eyes closed. And you may fall asleep before the end of this, or you may feel comfortably relaxed and drift off into a comfortable sleep at the end of this. And as you listen to this, this also has useful, therapeutic messages within this story. And it's not a detailed story. Its purpose is to be a bit like drifting in a dream, where you're playing the lead role, where it's something calming and comfortable that helps you drift comfortably asleep. So with your eyes closed as you listen to me, you can begin to notice yourself as an astronaut. And you're walking along towards a giant rocket. And you've got some astronaut crew with you. And you're walking along towards that giant rocket. And you look down at yourself and you can see the suit that you're wearing. And you're carrying the helmet at the moment. And you can feel the weight of the suit. And perhaps you can be surprised about how the suit isn't as hot as you expected it to be for something so big and heavy. And surprised that you can move so easily in the suit. And you see people taking photos of you and your fellow astronauts as you walk towards the rocket. You can see the clear blue sky above you. Feel the warmth of the sun, smelling the fresh air, hearing the murmuring sounds of the people. Feeling a little bit in awe of the size of that rocket as you get closer to it and realize how small you appear next to it. And as you get close to the rocket, so you and your fellow astronauts enter a lift that takes you up what looks essentially like scaffolding. It takes you up to the height of the entrance to the shuttle on the rocket. And you let some of the other astronauts go first, and then you walk out behind them. You admire the view from being so incredibly high up. And you think to yourself how it's almost like being standing on top of the Eiffel Tower. Having that kind of height over everyone else. And you walk along the platform and you can hear the echoey metallic sound with each step you take. And you enter the shuttle, closing the door behind you. And you can hear the as you close the door. And you can feel the weight of the door as you close the door. And although you can feel that the door's heavy, it feels surprisingly smooth and maneuverable and closes with ease. And you get into your seat, putting your helmet on and then twisting it slightly to lock it in place. And you can notice how you can now hear your breathing from within the helmet, having a slight difference in how the breathing sounds because of breathing into a helmet. And you strap yourself in. And you just think to yourself for a moment how awkward it is getting into the seats and strapping yourself in. When you're having to almost climb into a seat and lift your legs up, almost like sitting in a seat that's lying down on its back. And then you hear mission control begin to count down. They let you know that everything's okay, all the checks have been done. We're safe for takeoff. They begin to count down. 10, 9, 8. As they count down, your mind begins to focus. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And at 3 you hear a rumbling where the burners are lit. 2, and you hear the rumbling coming from the rockets. 1, 0, and on the count of 0, there's a moment's pause, and then suddenly what feels like an earthquake around you. A rumbling, tumbling earthquake. If there were things that could rattle, you know they would. And you feel like you're lifting, but you don't quite recognize it as lifting. You can't see outside anything other than a bit of blue sky, so you can't notice that you're lifting. And then after a second or two, suddenly you start to feel really heavy, feeling pushed back in your seat. After 5 seconds, you feel like you've tripled in weight. And the rocket continues to accelerate, and it quickly breaks the speed of sound. And all of a sudden there's silence from outside as you're travelling faster than the sound is able to travel from the rockets to your ears. And the acceleration continues, and the sky begins to get darker and darker outside. And you're aware you must be rising up higher and higher in the Earth's atmosphere. And then after about 15 seconds, you begin to notice yourself becoming weightless. Suddenly the shuttle twists and turns, and out the window you see the Earth, like a giant blue marble in space. And you just enjoy in awe the view, gazing down at the Earth as the shuttle begins to circle the Earth. And you unbuckle yourself and notice how you're weightless and everything just floats. Then you explore the shuttle. And this isn't an ordinary shuttle. This is the latest shuttle for a new kind of trip to space. And part of your role in space is to go and do a spacewalk. And you've got to take a specific satellite out of the shuttle with you, just a small satellite. You've got to unfurl its solar panels, attach a few pieces to it, and do all that far enough away from the shuttle that there's no risk to the shuttle or to the satellite. so you leave the shuttle on your spacewalk. And you work on sorting out that satellite, and you wonder what the satellite's for. You know it's to help with communication, but you don't know in what context. And it's hard work to work on the satellite, but you enjoy it because you're out in space. And while you're working on the satellite, a part of your mind is wondering about the fact that in space there's no up or down, no left or right, no backwards or forwards. There just is. That's it. And you're aware that to you feel like you're just stationary, sorting out a satellite. You can notice that the earth is moving beneath you, but you don't feel like you're moving. And yet you're aware that you're actually travelling around the earth at thousands of miles an hour. And you're aware that you're aging at a different speed to your family back on Earth. And so you start to ponder what reality is. If you can be travelling at thousands of miles an hour and feel like you're stationary, and if you can be aging slower than family on Earth. Once you've sorted the satellite out, you let go of it, having pressed in some codes, and it auto-corrects, gets itself to the correct orbit, and you head back to the shuttle. And then the shuttle has a few days of orbiting the Earth, where you just get to do a few science experiments and relax. You take some photos of the night sky. You take some photos of the Earth. You get a new perspective on things up here. And learn and grow. And after a few days in space, it's time for you to return back to Earth. And so as you buckle back into the shuttle, the trajectory of the shuttle is changed, and you begin to make your journey back down into the Earth's atmosphere. And as you journey back down into the Earth's atmosphere, so you journey deeper asleep. And you feel so relaxed journeying down into the Earth's atmosphere. You're aware how well built the shuttle is, how successful the shuttle is landing. Being able to enjoy the journey back down, noticing how the blackness of space starts to change to a blue of the atmosphere, passing through layers of cloud, before heading for a giant runway. And landing on that runway, firing parachutes out the back of your shuttle to decelerate the shuttle, and being welcomed home almost like a hero's welcome. Because although space flight is now more common, it's still not something that everyone does all the time. And you can look forward to your next space flight, to the next time you get called upon to repair a satellite, to take a satellite into space. And you can drift comfortably asleep now.
Obstacles to cross. Most are achievable thanks to makeshift bridges and other inventive methods. A hiker clearly needs a sense of trust and courage in oneself to make it to the eventual promised land. Not least for the fact that daylight is becoming more and more dim. Thoughts of turning back creep into the mind as you realize the scope of this trek, which feels a lot longer than 3 kilometers at this point. The repeated twists and turns of the pathway as it winds around the mountains keep you wishful that the bathing pools are just around the next corner. Inevitably, this leads to frustration and concern, with nighttime on its way. However, after navigating a few more tricky obstacles, you begin to see thick clouds of steam flowing out of the mountainside in the near distance. For a short time, the pathway runs adjacent to a bubbling hot stream of water, emitting a thick white fog. A sign warns that the temperature of the water exceeds 100 degrees Celsius. As you wander through, the steam warms the exposed skin of your face. Your sight is distorted, and you take extra care with each step. A strong sulfuric odor penetrates your nostrils as you breathe heavily up the toilsome climb. Before long, the fog clears again, and a small sign appears to your right. To the delight of every hiker, it reads Valley of Hot Springs, 250 meters. instantly the legs are revitalized with energy. The final part of the trek is experienced with great anticipation as you scamper with hurried legs towards the valley. Small signs continue to count down every 50 meters, before eventually the mountains open up and you see a wonderful network of steamy streams. The sun glistens on the water as it drops below the horizon. The spectacle is like a gift from Mother Nature. The bathing streams are complemented by man-made bridges and platforms alongside. Being late in the day, most remaining visitors are packing their swimwear, ready to head back through the mountains. However, as you walk a couple of minutes further upstream, there is a dozen or so visitors still enjoying the warm waters. Some of them have brought alcoholic beverages and are clearly frequenters to Reykjavik. Next to this busy spot is a sight screen, providing some privacy for changing into swimwear. Bearing in mind that the temperature is at best 0 Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, the thought of removing your copious layers of thermal clothing is quite terrifying. After reluctantly changing into attire that would usually be reserved for a hot summer's day, you rush from behind the sight screen and head for the water. Even now, it still seems inconceivable that the natural spring could be warm enough to nullify the chill of the Icelandic air. However, as you carefully take your first step into the water, you realize why so many people make the long hike to get here. The shallow liquid that rises just above knee height gently immerses your skin. It looks as clear as the water you drink from a tap, and it feels as warm, if not warmer, than the water you would bathe and shower in at home. Immediately, you feel yourself overcome with a delightful sense of softness and peace. Feeling complete gratitude for the moment. This is an experience unlike any other. You lower your body down, laying stretched out beneath the surface of the water. Instantly, your muscles relax and you feel at total ease. You close your eyes, allowing yourself a moment to appreciate the soft, warm water on your skin. You might even be inclined to lay back and immerse your neck and head in the warmth as well. when you open your eyes again, you see nature's beauty on display all around. The evening sun casting shadows across the immense mountainous lands. In the midst of this enchanted valley, you feel cut off from the rest of the world. Like a secret hiding place, shared only with a few strangers, chatting away in their native language. The scent of sulphur still very much present, but by now your nasal senses are used to it. Beneath you, the rocky bed of the stream is smooth but firm. Finding a comfortable position and keeping fairly still is therefore the best bet. And as you lay, the water flows so gently and creates a tranquil sound as it washes over the rocks. For as long as you please, you can simply kick back and absorb yourself in the beauty of your surroundings. You may even feel yourself beginning to ease into a sleepy state. The steady incline tires your muscles and helps you feel completely cozy and restful. With the light fading, you lay your head on the soft grassy verge. Close your eyes and feel the goodness of the fresh warm water on your skin. You breathe the crisp, cool, unpolluted air deep into your lungs, as if experiencing a full body detox. You lay warm and enveloped in the magical stream. It would be tempting to stay here forever, rather than braving the cold, getting yourself dry and back into full clothing. Your muscles are relaxed and refreshed, and you know that most of the return route is on a gentle declining gradient. For now then, all is calm and fully contented in the Valley of Steam.
As you listen to this bedtime story, so you can begin to relax and fall asleep. And to begin with, you can get yourself comfortable, and you can close your eyes. And as you listen to me, my voice will be in the background whilst you drift off comfortably asleep, relaxing in your own way while you follow my voice and listen to this story. And you can drift more comfortably asleep as you continue listening, and each time you listen, you can sleep deeper and more sound and relax. And this story is The Cave Dive. And so I'm going to guide you on a journey about a diver who goes to sea. And this diver goes out on a boat, leaves from the shore, and it's a rigid inflatable boat. And the diver turns on the engine and starts steering that boat out to sea with the buzzing sound of the engine in the background. And the sloshing of the water and splashing of the waves. And every now and then the boat hits slightly bigger waves that it leaps over, almost like they're ramps. It goes up a wave and then splashes down, then goes up a wave and splashes down. And after a while, the diver turns off the motor and the boat glides gently to a stop. The diver drops down an anchor just to hold this boat in place. And from where the boat is, the diver gazes back towards the shore, and the shore's just on the horizon. And all the diver can hear is the sloshing of the water against the boat, the odd sound of seabirds, a slight sea breeze, and just peace and calm. And the diver gets their diving gear. They put the tanks on their back, put their weight belt round the middle, wearing their scuba gear. They put the face mask on and the goggles on. Take a couple of test breaths through the gear. Just to make sure the scuba gear is working fine. Check the air level. Have one last look around at the ocean's surface, noticing its calmness, noticing the colour of the ocean, the colour of the water, noticing the clarity of that water. Then the diver sits on the edge of the boat, holds their mask in place, and drops backwards with a splash. And And as soon as the diver enters the water and goes underwater, the sound changes. There's the sound of bubbles just after the diver enters the water. There's the feeling of the water rushing across the body, rushing into the diver's suit. And there's a certain calmness, a certain quality to being underwater. And the diver turns themselves round so they can look down in the direction they're going. And they release some of the air from their jacket, and very gently, with the flippers on their feet, give a couple of kicks, and gracefully, calmly, with everything underwater seeming to move so slowly, almost like time slowing down. They swim down towards a dark area on the ground, towards a cave deep under the sea. And the diver swims down deeper and deeper, swims down deeper and deeper. And the deeper they swim, the darker everything begins to get. And gazing back from time to time, they can see the light at the surface, see the shimmering water sparkling as waves pass over, see different fish swimming around. And as they swim down deeper and deeper towards the bottom, they can notice different sea plants swaying in under the sea. They can notice how their breathing is slowing comfortably down, how they're breathing using their whole lungs. How they find the experience so relaxing as they go deeper and deeper. And then the diver reaches the hole and swims into that underwater cave. And as they swim into the cave, so the sound changes again. And the atmosphere changes again. Almost like the diver has taken themselves to a new level of calmness, a new level of peace. And the diver reaches out with a hand and touches the wall of the cave while they swim into the cave. And they can feel the water against their feet with each kick they give as they swim deeper and deeper into the cave. That's it. And the diver wanted to swim into this cave because there's something magical down here. And the cave seems to get narrower and narrower, and darker and darker. So the diver gets out its torch diver turns the torch on. And as the diver shines the torch around, they notice how the light bounces off the cave walls and bounces off the surface of the water, because the water has some pockets of air above it in places along this cave. Then the diver sees what they've been looking for. They see an opening into a cavern. They swim into that opening. Surface within that opening, shining their light around, and they see huge crystals glistening and sparkling. They take their diving mask off, gaze around, breathe in that cave air. Air that very few people have breathed over millions of years, because very few divers have ever entered this cave. That's it. And some of the crystals are as big as the diver. There's purple crystals, pink crystals, milky white crystals, clear crystals. And really tiny crystals on the ceiling that glisten as the torchlight strikes them. There's the echoey sound in here as water drips from the cave roof into the water below. And the diver swims ashore, and there's a shoreline that looks almost like a beach that's sandy along the shore. And the diver goes out onto the shore and decides to relax on this shore. And there are some lights down here from previous dives that the diver can turn on, and as they turn on those lights, so the cave lights up. And the diver can see the vastness of the chamber they're in. And can see how crystal clear the water is. And hear the gentle sloshing as the waves lap on the shore. And the diver takes some time to just relax back and listen to that peace and quiet. There's no sounds of cars or aeroplanes or other people talking. There's no sounds of animals or wind. Just the faint sloshing of the water on the shore, and the occasional dripping of water dripping from the ceiling down into the water below. And the diver takes this time to really relax, gain some inner peace. This has become their sanctuary. This has become their place where they go, where they want to get away from things, where they want to find clarity of mind, want to relax, want to drift off asleep, want to have that sense of peace. And then after a while, the diver decides it's time to leave the cave. So they get themselves ready again, walk back into that water. Drop themselves under the water. And just enjoy floating for a while, floating, relaxing, drifting and dreaming for a while. Before they find their way back out of the cave and swim their way back up to the boat, nice and slowly, nice and gently, taking plenty of time to swim back to the boat. And then taking time once they're back in the boat to just take a relaxed journey back to the shore. But they take their time swimming from the cave back up to the boat. They got plenty of air and they take all the time they need. As you drift, dream and sleep.
My name's Thomas. As you drift off to sleep tonight, I'll be reading you an ancient Greek myth that tells of how the earth came to have horses and olives. But before we get started, take a moment to get comfortable in bed. take a deep breath in, collecting any lingering thoughts from your day. And as you exhale, let those thoughts drift away. Give yourself permission to relax. You've done enough today, and you deserve a good night's rest. I don't know what will lead you to sleep the fastest. Maybe the comfort of your bed, the darkness behind your eyelids, or the sound of my voice. But whatever it is, you'll fall asleep in your own way. And while you do, you can just listen along to this myth from the antiquity. On a steep, stony hill in Greece, there lived in early times a few very poor people who'd not yet learned to build houses. They made their homes in little caves, which they dug in the earth or hollowed out among the rocks. They lit fires in the caves for warmth, and their food was wild animals, which they hunted in the woods, with now and then a few berries or nuts. They did not even know how to make bows and arrows, but used slings and clubs and sharp sticks for weapons, and the little clothing which they had was made of skins. They lived on the top of the hill because they were safe there from the savage beasts of the great forest around them, and safe also from the wild men who sometimes roamed through the land. The hill was so steep on every side that there was no way of climbing it, save by a single narrow footpath, which was always guarded by someone at the top. It allowed them to observe the surrounding land, both for intruders and food. One day, when these people were hunting in the woods, they found a strange young boy, like no one they'd ever seen before. His face was so fair, and he was dressed so beautifully, that they could hardly believe him to be a man like themselves. His body was so slender and graceful, and he moved so nimbly among the trees, that they fancied him to be a serpent in the guise of a human being. They stood still in wonder and alarm when they saw him. The young man approached and spoke to them, but they could not understand a word that he said. Then he made signs to them that he was hungry, and they gave him something to eat and were no longer afraid of him. Had they been like the wild men of the woods, they might have captured him at once. But they wanted their fellows to see the serpent man, as they called him, and hear him talk, and so they led him home with them to the top of the hill. They thought that after they'd made a show of him for a few days, they would kill him and offer his body as a sacrifice to the unknown being whom they dimly fancied to have some sort of control over their lives. But the young man was so fair and gentle that, after they had all taken a look at him, they began to think it would be a great pity to harm him. So they gave him food and treated him kindly. And he sang songs to them and played with their children, and made them happier than they'd been for many a day. In a short time he learned to talk their language, and he told them that his name was Cecrops, He had been shipwrecked on the seacoast not far away. He told them many strange things about the land from which he came from, and to which he would never be able to return. The poor people listened and wondered how he opened their minds to a vast world beyond their knowledge and understanding. It wasn't long until they began to love him and to look up to him as one wiser than themselves. He knew ways of making their lives easier and better. So they came to ask him about everything that was to be done, and there was not one of them who refused to do his bidding. So Cecrops the Serpent Man, as they still called him, became the king of the poor people on the hill. He taught them how to make bows and arrows, and how to set nets for birds, and how to catch fish with hooks and nets. He led them against the savage wild men of the woods and helped them build protections against the fierce beasts that had been so great a terror to them. He showed them how to build houses of wood and to thatch them with the reeds which grew in the marshes. He taught them how to live in families instead of herding together like beasts as they'd done before. And he told them about great Jupiter and the mighty folk who lived amid the clouds on the mountaintop. As time passed, the poor people and their way of life began to change dramatically. Instead of homes and caves among the rocks, there was now a little town on the top of the hill, with neat houses and a marketplace, and around it was a strong wall with a single narrow gate, just where the footpath began to descend to the plain. But despite all of this, the place, this little town on the hill, still had no name. One morning, while King Cecrops and his wise men were sitting together in the marketplace and planning ways to make the town become a rich, strong city, two strangers were seen in the street. Nobody could tell how they got there. There was only one way into the town after all, and the guard at the gate had not seen them. No one had ever dared to climb the narrow footway without his leave. But there the two strangers stood. One was a man, the other a woman. And they were so tall, and their faces were so grand and noble, that those who saw them stood still in bewilderment and said not a word. The man had a robe of purple and green wrapped around his body, and he bore in one hand a strong staff with 3 sharp spear points at one end. The woman had wonderful grey eyes, swirling like thunderclouds. In one hand she carried a spear, and in the other a shield of curious workmanship. Eventually, an entire crowd formed around the two strangers, who seemed to barely even notice the growing group of townspeople surrounding them. Nobody talked, for all were struck with wonder. Until in one moment, when the man seemed to arrive in his present place, as if his consciousness had been in some other world all along. "What is the name of this town?" asked the man. The people stared at him, as if they hardly understood his words. Then an old man answered and said, "It has no name. We who live on this hill used to be called Crani. But since King Cecrops came, we've been so busy that we've had no time to think of names. Where is this King Cecrops you speak of? Asked the woman. He is in the marketplace with the wise men, was the answer. Lead us to him at once, said the man. And so they did. When Cecrops saw the two strangers coming into the marketplace, he stood up and waited for them to speak. The man spoke first. I am Neptune, he said, and I rule the sea. And I am Athena, said the woman. I give wisdom to people. I hear that you are planning to make your town become a great city, said Neptune, and I have come to help you. Give my name to the place, and let me be your protector and patron, and the wealth of the whole world shall be yours. Ships from every land shall bring you merchandise and gold and silver, and you shall be the masters of the sea. My uncle makes you fair promises, said Athena, but listen to me instead. Give my name to your city, and let me be your patron, and I will give you that which gold cannot buy. I will teach you how to do 1,000 things of which you now know nothing. I will make your city my favorite home, and I will give you wisdom that shall sway the minds and hearts of all men until the end of time. The king bowed and turned to the people, who had all crowded into the marketplace. For a moment, the entire town fell silent until the king spoke to the people. Which of these mighty ones shall we elect to be the protector and patron of our city? He asked. Neptune offers us wealth. Athena promises us wisdom. Which shall we choose? Neptune and wealth, replied many. Athena and wisdom, replied just as many others. At last, when it was plain that the people could not agree, an old man whose advice was always heeded stood up and said, These mighty ones have only given us promises, and they have promised things of which we are ignorant. For who among us knows what true wealth is, or what wisdom is? Now if they would only give us some real gift, right now and right here, which we can see and handle, we should know better how to choose. That is true, remarked the people in response. Very well then, said the strangers. We will each give you a gift right now and right here, and then you may choose between us. Neptune gave the first gift. He turned from the marketplace and walked up to the highest point of the hill, where the rock was bare, and bade the people to see his power. He raised his three-pointed spear high in the air, and then brought it down with great force. Lightning flashed, the earth shook, and the rock was split halfway down to the bottom of the hill. Then, out of the yawning crevice, there sprang a wonderful creature, white as milk, with long slender legs, an arching neck, and a mane and tail of silk flowing in the wind. people had never seen anything like it before, and they thought it was a new kind of bear or wolf or wild boar that had come out of the rock to devour them. Some of them ran and hid in their houses, while others climbed upon the wall, and still others grasped for a weapon in alarm. But when they saw the creature stand quietly by the side of Neptune, nuzzling its nose into the palm of his great hand, they lost their fear and came closer to see and admire its beauty. "This is my gift," said Neptune. "This animal will carry your burdens for you. He will draw your chariots. He will pull your wagons and your plows. He will let you sit on his back and will run with you faster than the wind." "What is his name?" asked the king. "His name is Horse," answered Neptune. Then Athena came forward. She stood a moment on a green, grassy plot where the children of the town liked to play in the evening. She drove the point of her spear deep down into the soil. At once, the air was filled with music, and out of the earth there sprang a tree with slender branches and dark green leaves, white flowers and violet green fruit. "This is my gift," said Athena. "This tree will give you food when you are hungry. It will shelter you from the sun when you are faint. It will beautify your city, and the oil from its fruit will be sought by all the world. It alone will make you rich." "What is it called?" asked the king. "It is called Olive," answered Athena. Then the king and his wise men began to talk about the two gifts. "I do not see that horse will be much of use to us," said the old man who had spoken before. "For we do not have chariots, wagons or ploughs, and indeed we do not even know what they are. And who among us will ever want to sit on this creature's back and be borne faster than the wind? For what purpose would we need such speed? But Olive will be a thing of beauty, and a joy for us and our children forever. It will feed us and bring us riches through trade." "Which shall we choose?" asked the king, turning to the people. Without a single objector, the people all called out in favor of Athena and the olive tree. "Be it so," said the king. "The name of our city shall be Athens." From that day, the town grew and spread with such vibrance and vigor. The olive tree grew fruit of wonderful flavor, and from the seed of the fruit, more olive trees sprouted. The town became healthy and prosperous. Soon there was not room on the hilltop for all the people. So houses were built on the plain around the foot of the hill, and a great road was built to the sea 3 miles away. And in all the world there was no city more fair than Athens. Word about the city spread quickly, bringing travellers from far and wide. They came with their goods of great value and wealth, and parted with them willingly for the oil from the olive tree. In the old marketplace on top of the hill, the people built a temple to Athena, the ruins of which may still be seen. And the olive tree grew and nourished. And when you visit Athens, people will show you the very spot where it stood. Many other trees sprang from it, and in time became a blessing both to Greece and to all the other countries around the Great Sea. As for the horse, he wandered away across the plains towards the north and found a home at last in distant Thessaly beyond the river Peneus. It had been said that all the horses in the world have descended from that one which Neptune brought out of the rock. From time to time, rumours may be heard of travellers spotting the great animal with silk flowing from its tail and mane, who wanders the woods with great majesty and magical wonder. But the truth of those rumours is something we may never know.
As you listen to this and begin to drift comfortably asleep, so my voice can go with you in the background, and you don't have to pay any real attention to my voice as you drift comfortably asleep. My voice can just be there in the background. And so you can take a moment to close your eyes and begin to relax. And as you begin to relax, you can have a sense of lying on a tropical beach on some white, beautiful sand. And the sun is just beginning to set in the distance, and the sand is still warm, and you can feel the warmth of the sand in your fingers. When you reach and touch that sand, you can feel the sensation of the grains of sand on your hand, the sensation of the grains of sand flowing through your fingers. And notice how the sand just below the surface is so wonderful and cool as it just flows through your fingertips. And as you relax on this beach, with the light taking on a beautiful hue, you can notice the calm lapping of the water on the shore, crystal clear water on the shore. You can notice the bird sounds changing in the distance as the sun slowly begins to set. And you can notice way off over the horizon the tops of some storm clouds. Way off across the ocean, over that horizon, you notice those storm clouds and some flickering light. And notice how there is just silence, how none of the sound from that storm is reaching the beach. You just gaze over there and there's silence. And you find that very mesmerizing, compelling, as you gaze over there at those clouds with the dancing light, the other side of the water, where here that water is so calm and still. Here the air is so calm and still. Here, there is just peace, calmness, stillness. And the water's just so gently lapping on the shore. And there's that storm without a sound off in the distance. That's it. And you notice as the sun sets, the way that the light of the sun glistens and sparkles and shimmers and shines on the surface of the water. You notice the stretching of the shadows. And you begin to notice the sounds of crickets in the distance and other nighttime sounds while the birds begin to go to sleep, while monkeys begin to go to sleep, while other animals begin to go to sleep. And how the air temperature changes just slightly, gets slightly cooler, and you can breathe that fresh air in. That's it. And you notice as the sun sets that some stars appear in the sky. And that other than that storm way over there in the sky where you are is perfectly clear. And you light a little fire on the beach to just keep you warm as the sun sets. You can notice the dancing flames, the crackling sound of the wood, that smell of a bonfire. You can feel mesmerized by the dancing flames. And gaze off, listening to that crackling. just turn into hours, and the sun has set below the horizon. You can notice there's still a glow where the sun's just below the horizon. And you notice as the hours move on how that storm has moved slightly closer. You can now see some of the lightning strikes striking the water way off in the distance. As you see thousands of flashes of light happening over there, and yet there's still silence from that direction. And you notice as the flashes strike the water, that the water glows and lights up, and that light dances on the surface of the water. You can see how that storm in the distance is a bit closer than it was, but it's still heading across the island rather than towards you. And so you know it's going to pass you by as you just watch that storm off in the distance out to sea. And as you lie there on that beach, by that fire, on that golden, beautiful white sand, it seems to be reflecting that golden light of the sun, of the fire there. Below the horizon. Gaze at the blanket of stars above you. And you have a little shelter that'll keep you warm and dry and safe, whatever the weather. And you have the most comfortable sleeping bag, and you tuck yourself inside your shelter, listening to the crackling fire, just taking in the moment. That's it. And after a while, as you see that storm having passed by in front of you. Just keeping an eye on that fire as it burns down to embers, as you fall asleep comfortably. Before your eyes just close and you fall asleep comfortably. Of birds, the sounds of the ocean,